But at the age of 4 years old, I used to watch my dad play guitar, and he would sing songs to my mother, and she would just have those dreamy eyes, And at 4 years old, I said, that's what I want to do. I want to play guitar. I want to learn how to play music because one day I'm going to have a wife and I'm going to write songs for her. That's the way I thought when I was 4 years old. And I also remember an old alcoholic man that used to walk past our house when I was at 4 years old, and I was scared to death of him. And he'd walk past our house on the way to the liquor store. His license had been revoked years earlier. And he'd walk up to the liquor store and then come walking back with his brown paper bag, and he would stop in front of our house long enough to throw up on our front yard usually. And his name was Mr. Roach. I wish I could go back in time and visit with him and pray for him. But I remember telling my mother, I said, I will never be like that. 4 years old, Mom, I'm never going to be like that. I was scared to death of Mr. Roach. Never going to let myself get, she said, you be a teetotaler your whole life. Teetotaler, that meant don't ever drink. And so I made a promise to her, and I made a promise to myself that I will never, ever drink. How many of you know God has a purpose for your life? Amen? As long as we are alive, God has got a purpose for us. How many of you know that the devil has a purpose for your life as well? And whatever God tries to do, the devil will try to derail that. I had made it all the way through high school. I was literally even a virgin all the way through high school. That's unheard of anymore. But I was dead set on being as good as I could be, and I went to church every day, 5 times a week, 3 times on Sunday. We were at church. And so, that's weird. I haven't seen myself in a long time. I'm getting old. So anyway, here I was going to church, and at the age of about 15 or 16, I gave my heart to the Lord, and they found out that I knew how to play piano, and so they would ask me every week, come in and play our offering song for us, And I would sing, I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, and this young man is so talented. And so one Sunday I came in and they said, would you please come up and play our offering song for us? And I had just given my heart to the Lord. I'd just gotten saved, and I was so proud of that. And I heard this song, I can see clearly now the rain is gone. And I thought, what a great, appropriate song to sing this morning. Gone are the obstacles in my way. Gone are the dark clouds that had me bound. Gonna be a bright. I got to right about there on the piano when the Sunday school teacher came and closed the piano lid and said, we will not have that satanic hippie music played in the house of the Lord. It embarrassed me so bad. I was mortified. And I thought, you know what? The church has no place for me. And I ran from the church. I ran from God. It took the devil about 4 years to really get a hold of me. And one night I was singing in a nightclub. And I still had not taken a drink of alcohol my entire life. And I had a really bad sore throat this night. I was singing a lot of Journey back then, Faithfully, I was really having a hard time. And my bass player said, you know what, there's something behind the bar that could really fix you up. It's called Cream de Mint. I said, does it have alcohol in it? Well, yeah, it's got alcohol in it. No, I will never have a drink of alcohol. Never. So he goes, have you ever taken NyQuil if you have a cold? The devil will use somebody close to you, and he'll try to put logic into it to where it all makes perfect sense, just like he did Eve in the garden. Well, he did that to me. And my friend finally talked me into taking a little shot of Cream de Mint. And you know what? He was absolutely right. It almost tasted exactly like NyQuil. My throat cleared up. I felt better. And in fact, I felt so good, I decided to go ahead and get another one the next time we took a break. By the end of the night, I had had 4 Cream de Mints. And I enjoyed the way it felt. I spent the next 15 years of my life battling a disease called alcoholism. It is Russian roulette for you young people to ever take a sip of anything other than milk, tea, or water. And it controlled my life for 15 long, long years. I quit once. I quit drinking for 2 years because I was really worried about, I was getting bad, really, really bad. And so I decided to quit on my own, was successful 2 years, at the end of my 2nd year anniversary of being sober, I decided to celebrate by getting drunker than I had ever been, because I proved to myself that I could do it. Became a worse alcoholic over the next few years than I ever thought possible. In the middle of my 2nd divorce, yes, I have been divorced twice, so I'm never going to have a pastor's license. I'm sorry. But I've been divorced twice, and it was all because of alcoholism. In the middle of that divorce, I decided, you know what? I'm going to end my own life. I can't take this anymore. This pain is too intense. I've suffered long enough. So I decided to go ahead and get a gun that I had for protection, this little .38 pistol, put it in my pocket, and I lived on 40 acres in southeast Oklahoma at that time. And actually, I'm giving the short version of this story. I've learned how to do that over the years. But my wife had found someone else that she loved more than me. So 5 or 6 months, I had tried to save this relationship. And looking back on it, she had every reason in the world not to love me anymore, you know. But I was going to try to save the relationship. Didn't work. I took her on a cruise. That didn't work. Any of y'all ever been on a cruise? I'll tell you what, I went there with someone who wasn't in love with me, and it was the best week of my life. I'm telling you, if you go with somebody that you really enjoy hanging with, I really highly recommend it. So anyway, it just wasn't working, and I finally decided I was going to kill myself. So I took this gun. I drove out into the back 40 of our property, and I was standing there with this gun against my head, and I was just saying, this is it. I'm shaking, and I'm crying, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this time. Well, you know how crazy my thinking was? I decided that if I shoot myself in the head and I'm standing here, I could fall down and potentially hurt myself. So, I mean, that's how crazy my thinking was. And so, right here next to my truck, I just kind of knelt down like this. I thought, yeah, if I get right here, shoot myself in the head, they'll find me, you know. That the last act of poor pitiful me. But there's something that happens to you if you've ever had a relationship with God when you wind up in this position. Whenever I hit my knees, somehow my knees activated my heart. And I decided that I was going to cry out to the only one who ever heard my real cries, my real prayers, and knew exactly who I was. And I cried out to him, and I literally had myself hostage like this. I was going, God, if you don't do something, I'm going to kill myself. I swear I will. You better do something quick, or I'm going to die. God's just, I don't know if he's on vacation that day or what happened, you know, but he didn't say anything to me. I didn't see a burning bush. I didn't see a word in the sky. I didn't hear God's voice at all. But I said, God, if you can use a broken monster like me, the person that I've become, if you can use somebody like me, then you better do it now. For some reason, I put the gun down. I don't know why, but I just couldn't go through with it. Now I'm mad at myself because not only am I just pitiful at life, I can't even do death right. So I got back in my truck and I went back home and there's my cheating wife. She's in love with another man. I lay down next to her in the bed and I just, this is it. This is it for me. Let me tell you guys something that's worth writing down. Your circumstances do not determine your future. Whatever it is that you're going through this morning, that's not anything compared to what God's got planned for you in your future. When I laid my head down on that pillow, I think I fell asleep instantly. And I think I slept for around 10 hours. I hadn't had 5 minutes sleep in 6 months. I woke up the next morning. How many of y'all know when you're going through something really traumatic, it's weighing heavy on your heart? You can't really see anything except for it, the problem, the thing that you're going through. And everything seems to kind of be gray, kind of a grayish, blackish color, and there's not really any colors, you don't notice the blue sky, the green trees anymore. When I woke up the next morning, I felt like I was in one of those Pixar cartoons, a 3D one, where the colors are so vivid and everything is so beautiful. I woke up in the same circumstance that I was in, but I knew that my future was different. I knew that God had visited me in my sleep, and I didn't really know how to explain it to my wife. And I said, all I know is God appeared to me last night and asked me, do I love this more than I love him? Now, I did not know that he said exactly the same thing to Peter. You guys familiar with that story where Jesus has been crucified? Peter goes, well, there goes that. So much for that kingdom. I'm going to go back to fishing, something I know how to do. Peter goes back to fishing, and Jesus appears to him on the water and says, do you love this more than me? Well, I believe that if Peter would have said, yes, I really do, I think Peter would have become the greatest fisherman in all of history. Because Jesus, like that song said, God is a friend of mine. He calls me friend. He wants the desires of my heart. That's what he wants. But you know what my answer was that morning? I said, God, no, I really don't. I thought about my life, and I had tried everything. I had tried this, I'd tried that. I'm not going to give the devil credit for all the things that I've tried. But nothing was working. And there was a huge hole inside of me. And I knew that only God could fill it. And I said, God, no, I don't love this more than you. I want a relationship with you. And instantly, my life changed. Everything looked different. Everything was clear. I knew I had to pack up my stuff and move somewhere else. My wife was in love with someone. I blessed her and said, you guys be happy. I love you, but hey, have a great life. My brother told me one time, the greatest revenge that you can have on someone who's broken your heart is to live a good, clean, godly life. My brother said that to me. And my brother's not even a Christian. He says he is, but he really isn't. So sometimes people just speak into your life, and those things, those little tiny things that God uses someone to say in your life will stick with you forever, and at the moment you need it, he'll bring it back up. The greatest revenge you can have on anybody is to live a good, clean, godly life. I decided that day as I was packing up my truck, I'm going to go to Dallas and find the busiest street corner that I can, and I'm going to tell everybody about Jesus. My wife thought I was crazy. She thought I had taken drugs or something. About 3 or 4 weeks later, she called me and said, I am so sorry, please come back home. I said, I got somebody else I love way more now. And I was so in love with God. And I was telling everybody, you know how a new Christian is. I tell everybody about Jesus, everybody that'll listen to him. Everybody, what happens to us when we get older in our walk is that, we get more comfortable with it and, whatever. But man, if it can stay that exciting throughout your whole life, what a great, you remember that? You remember when you first got saved, man, you're telling everybody? You can find that place again. Because wherever you are, your circumstance does not determine your future. So I left and went to Dallas, checked myself into AA. I didn't need it. I just wanted to go tell them about Jesus. I was there for 1 year, and they finally got so sick of me that they, at the end of the AA meetings, if any of you guys have ever attended that, at the end of the meeting, they'll say, keep coming back. This one particular day, they didn't say that because I was in there telling them about Jesus. I was like, look, you guys are telling these young people that they can pray to anything, and that'll be their higher power. And some of you choose to call your higher power God. You know what? God chose you. You didn't choose to call him anything. He is God Most High. He's the greatest there ever was. And you do not, when you tell young people they can pray to whatever they want to pray to as long as they have a higher power, do you know what you're unleashing on this earth? So I began to preach to them about idolatry, and man, they couldn't wait to get me out the door. And I never went back, but I've been living for God ever since. I have never, ever turned around the other way. I've never had a desire to drink alcohol in 16 years. That's how long it's been. And, I've been through worse stuff than ever. I've been through church since that. And people, I know how some of y'all are thinking this morning, well, we don't like him because he's not the old guy. I told Steve this the other night. I go, you can probably relate to this because when you first got there were a couple of people that just didn't like you because you weren't the old guy. It happened to me at my old church, and when I left last week, they were lined up around the church to come and hug me and tell me what a blessing I was to them. If we could get to that place today, not me, but God, to get to that place where no matter what we see in the natural, no matter what we're feeling, no matter what kind of songs we're doing, we may not like the temperature, we don't like the color of the carpet. If we could just get past that and focus on God, how much could we accomplish in this town? Do me a favor and turn your Bibles. I wasn't going to preach this morning, but I got to. Turn your Bible with me to the book of Luke. This is the most precious story in the Bible to me. And there's a lot of good ones, but this is so precious. Let me see, where is it at? You might have to help me. Luke 7, verse 36. This morning, I can tell I'm getting older because this morning I was looking everywhere for my glasses. And I was in my car, and I knew that I had put my glasses next to my phone because I knew that at some point I was going to want to revert to go to the Bible. And so I'm in my car going, man, I can't believe I left my glasses at home. Now I'm going to be up there all like this, and people are like, oh, the guy can't see. And so I got here in the parking lot, pulled off my seatbelt, and it went, oh, thank you, Lord. Luke chapter 7. Beginning with verse 36. When one of the Pharisees invited Jesus to have dinner with him, he went to the Pharisee's house and reclined at the table. A woman in that town who lived a sinful life. How would you like to be known throughout history as the person who lived a sinful life? That's it. That's who she was. She learned that Jesus was eating at the Pharisee's house, so she came there with an alabaster jar of perfume. As she stood behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears. Then she wiped them with her hair, kissed them, and poured perfume on them. When the Pharisee who had invited him saw this, he said to himself, if this man were a prophet, he would know who is touching him and what kind of woman she is, that she is a sinner. Boom, boom, boom. Jesus answered him. Now, check this out. Nobody was talking to Jesus. They were talking amongst themselves. Yeah, man, if he knew what kind of woman she was. They're on the other side of the room. So Jesus answered him. I bet that was an eye-opener right there. Simon, I have something to tell you. So like, tell me, teacher. 2 people owed money to a certain moneylender. One owed him 500 denarii, and the other 50. Neither of them had the money to pay him back, so he forgave the debts of both. Now, which of them will love him more? Simon replied, I suppose the one who had the bigger debt forgiven. You have judged correctly, Jesus said. Then he turned toward the woman and said to Simon, do you see this woman? I came into your house. You did not give me any water for my feet, but she wet my feet with her tears and wiped them with her hair. You did not give me a kiss, but this woman from the time I entered has not stopped kissing my feet. You did not put oil on my head, but she has poured perfume on my feet. Therefore I tell you, her many sins have been forgiven, as her great love has shown. But whoever has been forgiven little loves little. Now, the reason why I shared that verse with you this morning is there's many times that I've been accused of being a showboat, that I'm, like this mega star, rock and roll praise and worship guy, and I like to show off for people. Let me tell you something. If this room would have had nobody in it today, if the band hadn't shown up, if the praise singers had called in sick, I would have been up here worshiping my God with passion. I used to look at those verses, that story in the Bible, and I would say, the moral to this story is that no matter how full of sin you are, it doesn't matter. Jesus will forgive you. And that's what I got. I got that forever. And then I started getting this. People who mock you and talk about you behind your back, Jesus is going to spank them around a little bit. I got that out of it. How many of you know that this is called a living word for a reason? Depending on where you are in life, these verses can take on a whole new meaning. Well, over the last few years in Tyler, and I've experienced a pretty religious spirit in Tyler, very religious area, not very righteous, I got to tell you. But very, very religious minded. People know their Bible real good, and they're able to point you and tell you all your faults. But what I get out of this story now is that when she left her house, she prepared to worship him. She didn't think about what was going to go on when she got there. She knew who she was. She knew she wasn't worthy to be in his presence. But she had that jar of oil, that jar of perfume. She left her house with it. Okay? That tells me that she knew in her heart of hearts that it didn't matter who the worship leader was that day. It didn't matter what songs they were going to sing. It didn't matter what kind of food they were going to eat. It didn't matter how many people were going to be there saying, if he only knew. She was prepared to worship Jesus. Let me tell you this morning, when you leave your house, if you prepare your heart to worship Jesus, we could have some of the worst singers, the worst players in this place, and it shouldn't matter to you at all. Because you came there to bring your deposit of God into this house. And when you do that, and we all come in one accord, one mind, one spirit, we are going to raise dead people out of their graves. You're going to see this. I'm not lying. Because Jesus said, even greater miracles than this will you see. He was raising people from the dead, and he was telling his disciples, oh, this ain't nothing. You guys are going to do even more than this. But to do that, we have to get in one mind and one accord. I'm not asking you to accept me. I've already been accepted. Y'all have loved on me so much this morning. I might just pull up a sleeping bag and sleep in this place for the rest of the week. But just prepare your heart as you leave your house every Sunday morning to worship God and watch the miraculous things that are going to be happening in this house in the future. 2013, 2014, Pastor James to me said, I believe that in a year, brother, that things are really going to turn around. I said, I'm looking at 6 weeks. I think things are going to turn around in 6 weeks. Because when people, when you get up here and you worship God in spirit and in truth. Now, the reason why I worship him like that is because I have been forgiven of much. I told you guys my history, my story. I've been forgiven of so much. I love him so much. I would have been drunk in a ditch somewhere this morning rather than standing in front of you giving an awesome story. When I tell this story, I kind of feel like I'm talking about somebody else because I don't even feel that old man anymore. Jesus has removed it. Behold, all things have become new. I love you guys and thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak to you today. I've learned over the years to shorten this story. So I'm kind of done right now, except for I would love to sing a song for you guys. Years ago, I was the lead guitar player for the praise team on the Daystar Christian Television Network. And you guys ever watch that with Joni and Marcus Lamb? You may have seen me on there. My hair was down to about right here back then. And when I moved to Tyler, I was actually still going there. I was going back and forth to Grapevine, Texas 4 days a week. And then gas got up to, $4 a gallon. I couldn't make the trip anymore. But one morning as the Lord was speaking to my heart, I was getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you cuss the devil for the things that are going on in your life. I wasn't able to sleep past 5 o'clock. I could go to bed at 3:30 and wake up at 5 o'clock. Well, I finally got tired of yelling at the devil for waking me up, and I started praising the Lord for waking me up and thought, maybe you want to spend some time with me, and that's what this is about. So I started opening my Bible at 5 o'clock every morning, and as I began to read the words of it, I started hearing this chorus in my head. And let me have my piano back, Scott, please. I started hearing a chorus to a song in my head. It was so beautiful. And I knew it was the Lord speaking to me and speaking a song into my spirit. And I sat down and started writing the words to this song out. And 15 minutes later, this entire song was completely written. Now, the reason I say that is because I know I don't have sense enough to write a song in 15 minutes that has such an impact to it, such a wonderful message to it. And so this is called Without You. As I began to sing to the Lord and just say, God, without you, I'm nothing. I'm no one at all. He spoke the most amazing thing to me. And this is how it goes. Trying to make my way in a world of discontent. Led me far away from the reason I'd been sent. So caught up in myself that I wandered far away from the arms of my first love. So I'm coming back to say, without you, I'm a ship without a captain. Without you, I am tossed about the sea. Without you, my existence has no meaning. Like a child without a home, I am lost and all alone without you. In every crevice of this earth, I have searched for wealth and fame, but no riches could compare to the treasure of your name. And though I try to climb a mountain to see all I can see, I have found that I'm the highest when I'm kneeling at your feet. 'Cause without you, I'm a plane without a pilot. Without you, I am a dove without its wings. And without you, my existence has no meaning. Like a child without a home, I am lost and all alone without you. And in the quiet of my heart, I heard a voice so sweet, like an echo from a valley, that was crying out to me. And he said, child, I've waited for you every moment, every day. And then my eyes filled up with tears as I heard my father say, without you, I have no hands to feed the hungry. Without you, I have no voice to reach the lost. Without you, I have no arms to hold the hurting. Come and take me by the hand. I'll be closer than a friend. Without you, I'm a wave beneath the ocean. Without you, I am a cloud that brings no rain. Without you, I'm a gift that's never given. Come and take me by the hand. I'll be closer than a friend. 'Cause there are songs I cannot win without you.